The indigenous people of Montana have a long history of fortitude in working within systems imposed upon them by the United States government agencies, and they have moved beyond those issues by using the democratic system of government to improve their life for Native Americans and other citizens in their area. In this review, we'll look at the tribes in Montana and their history, specifically the Blackfeet tribe, and the example of people who have risen to the political call of service from that tribe. And then we'll paint a picture of victory over the oppression by working within the very system that oppressed them. The very concept of republic lies within the power of the citizens, and thereof having the power of the vote. And according to the Western Native Voice, there are over 60,000 Montana American Indians that are eligible to do just that. This was not always the case. Moreover, American Indians' history of oppression shadows the trust for many of participating in the very republic that oppressed them. The reservation system creates through treaties, statutes, and executive orders resulted in 7 reservations in Montana. And every single one of them either has a single tribe, but usually there's multiple tribes sharing the spaces. Every reservation is, or at least in theory, a sovereign nation and has its own local government and rules. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution allows regulation of commerce with foreign nations and among several states and with Indian tribes. While this sounds like tribal entities hold their own destiny within their communities, it isn't that simple. There are huge limitations, as sovereign nations is also the subject of local, state, and federal authority. With this concept has been contested in court cases such as Chief Justice Marshall and Cherokee Nation versus Georgia and Montana versus United States. Outcome proved that tribes were not granted the same privileges as foreign governments. Indeed, even locally, if they were not at will to regulate things as hunting, fishing, and their own tribal lands. The Blackfeet Nation worked with this power and persisted. And they came together as community. The impact of the vote and showed what the impact of vote can have. A historical backdrop is important here to fully understand why this is an important example. In 1851, Fort Laramie Treaty determined the boundaries of the Blackfeet Reservation. And even though there was no Blackfeet representatives that were allowed to participate in the decision-making process, they were continually robbed by the United States government even after the reservation was made. Within the nation itself, heroes have stood out. One such man is Percy D. Wolfe, who was originally from Nova Scotia. Moving westland as business brought him here. He was one of the few Blackfeet Indian responsible for the creation of the Blackfeet Community College, eventually becoming a state senator. De Wolfe is also known as a strong individual in the face of adversity and challenge, and is an example of the Blackfeet people. For a time of being confined to reservation land, to losing much of the land within the white man's personal interest, to creating tribal leaderships and rules, to leaders such as Percy D. Wolfe, who worked to create Blackfeet Community College and later represented his area in state senate, the Blackfeet community stayed strong, creating the pathways for tribal victors and independence. Within the larger community, Denise Janu, I hope I said that right, an enrolled member of the Madden Histaka-Irika tribe and descendants of the Blackfeet tribe, is an amazing example of serving both her own native community as well as representing her district in the state. A Harvard graduate, she was Montana's superintendent to the public institution in 2008, later becoming the first Native American Indian to win. Oh, wait, excuse me, my slides are sticking. State office twice. Sorry about that. Moreover, she also was the first openly gay Congress candidate, and in 2016, Democratic candidate for the United States House of Representatives for Montana. She recently left Montana to lead Seattle's public schools, opting out of the public office. Another example is Representative Marvin Weathermax Jr., representing House District 15, beginning in the present year. He was the director of the Blackfeet tribe from 2003 to 2008 and has worked with Blackfeet Veterans Alliance since 2015. Presently, there's a record number of Native lawmakers in Montana state legislature, with 11 tribal members making up about 7% of the total number of legislators. These lawmakers are pushing bills covering issues from language preservation to missing persons reporting, thus having a major impact on Native people in Montana, as well as citizens as a whole. Native Americans were not even recognized as American citizens until 1924, and although the 1968 Civil Rights Act included an Indian Bill of Rights that allowed greater inclusion and recognition, there remain today pockets where voting is not an option. The Blackfeet has shown all of America that overcoming these restrictions and oppression is not only possible, it has to be done and needs to be continued to be done. Thank you for listening.